Hi guys, Ren here and welcome back to the training room. And in today's video I'm going to talk about how I use my indoor trainers and why I use it so much, why it's vitally important for my training and my preparation for the races, because a lot of people have been wondering on Strava, why do I spend all that much time on the trainer, why do I do such long rides, etc. The first thing I want to point out is that I used to hate indoor training as much as anyone else, but that was mainly due to the fact that I didn't have the proper equipment, because if you do, then it's actually not that bad. And what I mean by good equipment, I'm going to show you just right now. The first thing you need in your indoor training setup, of course, is your bike. Now preferably if you have multiple bikes, then it's the bike that has the most aggressive position or is the sharpest race bike you have. So when it comes to race and put the power down on the road, you're actually accustomed to this position. In my case, that's a time trial bike. I've been doing this for years. TT bike on the trainer all winter long, because yeah, it's not very enjoyable to ride this kind of bike in cold weather anyway. So this is when it's most useful. Second thing is a good indoor trainer. Now nowadays I think going with anything other than direct drive would be a big mistake. I know these are expensive, very expensive in fact, but you have to consider it as an investment, because these things don't wear out too quickly, they don't get outdated too quickly, they will always work, the standards don't really change. You just have to be sure that you buy one that's future-proof, so you can put in a disc brake bike, for example, and then it's going to last you multiple years and hundreds of hours of training. The second thing, and one that's very crucial within indoor training, is cooling. Now if you have just a regular fan, it's okay, but not really the best solution. And this was the one thing that has been preventing me from doing really long rides and really intense rides, because if you don't have proper cooling, you can't put out the power, you can't do the duration and the distance. So it's a bit compromised. If you want your indoor training to not just be a complement to regular training, but an actual full-scale operation, a full value, then you really need proper cooling. And in my case, that's done by the Wahoo Kicker headwind fan. And it's expensive for a fan, super expensive. To me, it's invaluable, because it enables you to ride as much and as hard as you want. The fan speed changes automatically regarding your load, how you set it up, and it makes the whole process of indoor training much more enjoyable. And then regarding the software side of things, it's not really very pleasant to just stare at a computer screen doing whatever, or watching a movie, even listening to music, these things that people used to do when indoor training, because it's not engaging, it's not interactive, so it's going to bore you out of your mind. The software I use, if you follow me on Strava, then you know, it's Zwift. I think this is actually the closest thing to outdoor riding. It can be very entertaining. There are tons of people on it. You can race them, you can do group rides, you can do workouts. You have many courses to choose from, and it's all interactive, it's all very vivid and engaging. So if you want to do the long hours, it's the only option on the market as for now. Of course, there are other kinds of software like Training Peaks, Sufferfest, etc. But there you're just staring at a graph showing your power. So for those intense 1-hour sessions in intervals, it's okay. But again, if you talk about that, then it's still just a complement to regular training. It's not a full value. So for me, that's why Zwift is the obvious choice. Okay, so now you might say that this is all very nice, but few people can actually afford it because it's expensive. What do I have to say about that? Well, cycling is a technical sport, and if you want the results, then you need to make the investments. Otherwise, it's just excuses. You can't go around it, you know. If you don't have the proper equipment, then you can't do the proper thing. Same as with time trialing or road racing, anything really. Unfortunately, that's the world we live in. That's how it is. Nothing to complain about. It won't change that for sure. But yeah, I think it's really worth the investment if you're after the good results. And I'll tell you why. For me, training, or the key principles of training, are consistency and sticking to the plan, whatever plan you have. Because then you can build towards some progression and towards some goals. And of course, if you watch this somewhere in a climate where it's very nice all year round, you don't have to rely on indoor training to make it work. Of course, then it's all irrelevant. But most of us don't. Most of us live in a temperate climate where with, in the winter at least, short daylight hours. Most of us have commitments like businesses, families, school, etc. In these circumstances, you can't rely on sticking to the daylight hours. You can't rely on the days with good weather, and you can't rely on outside conditions. And for me, what really makes indoor training work and what really makes it extremely important for me is the fact that I do a lot more training now than I used to, and I know from my own experience that without doing this, it would be impossible to stick to. I'll tell you just 2 examples. Even though it's quite nice now, the spring is around the corner and it's 10, 11, sometimes 15 degrees, so that's nice. But still, I went out on a time trial training ride, but the wind was so extreme. It was the first time in my life that I just couldn't go forward because it was just impossible. The crossing was so strong that I had to turn back. If I didn't have an indoor trainer to complete my training, then that would be it. 1.5 hours instead of 3. Then yesterday, for example, I wanted to do 5 hours, nothing too extreme. But then it started to rain after 2 hours 15. So I had to come back, and still I hopped on the trainer. In a couple of minutes I was able to resume the same training I intended to. Sometimes it's too cold, it's rainy, it's windy. Even if you go out, you can't really stick to a plan because you're just trying to survive the conditions, and that's not what effective training is about. Indoors, however boring or torturing it might sound, you can always stick to the plan. You will never run out of water because you go into the room and grab some more. You will never run out of food. If your bike breaks down, no worries, you just fix it and you continue. If there's anything wrong, you don't have to be afraid that you're 50 kilometers from home and there's no one to pick you up. You can't get a puncture. Mechanicals, as I said, aren't a problem. Of course, there's the possibility that your internet runs out, but then Zwift will also record the file no matter what, and you can just upload it later, so you have your data. So regarding consistency, this is really something you can't beat and you can't really get outdoors. Of course, it's vital to ride outdoors as much as possible because after all, that's what we're trying to do. That's the most enjoyable part of the whole experience. but it's much better doing that, knowing that you have done the preparation first through the winter. You have the power. When you jump on a bike outdoors, then you can immediately see the boost in power relative to indoors, because you can move the bike at the more air, etc., more cooling. So that's a nice feeling too. And yeah, it just what makes it possible for me. And in these two occasions that I mentioned, it really got me frustrated because at least where I live, it's impossible to rely on outdoor conditions if you have some training plan or something you really want to stick to. So and there's, regarding on the life commitments, you come back late from somewhere, you can do the training after, no matter it's dark or whatever, you can do it all night. Or before you leave, you can do it early in the morning when it would be too cold or just too dark to ride outdoors, and you don't have to risk anything. You're not going to get run over. It's just the ultimate addition, and in my case, it's a full value replacement or alternative to my training. So yeah, if you want the results, I definitely recommend investing in a setup similar to this. I'm not saying you need all the highest end stuff, but as I said, it's an investment for multiple years and you're going to see the results and the benefits. I can vouch for that, I can guarantee that. Okay, so these were my thoughts about indoor training and in general. I hope you have found this informative and useful. If you want to know more about the actual bike setups that I run, then don't forget to tune into the channel and subscribe. It's all for today. Thanks for watching and see you next time.